You can add reflection, which is what I basically do. Now, when you first select reflection, you'll get this. And depending on what you like, that is not good because you typically want the text to look like the color that you selected. So we're going to go to reflection, texture, we're going to go to Fresnel, and that adds reflection to your already selected color. There's a lot of other things you can do. For example, bump is if you're creating a planet or anything that has some sort of actual physical bump to it. You can add bumps on here. For example, let me give you a quick example. Texture, surface, checkered. As you can see, now adds a textured look to it, but we don't want that. At least I don't want it. If you want it, add it, but you know what I mean. Okay, so we're done with that. Now we add the material. You take the material, you click and drag it over to mode text, to your text. Now you'll get this. I highly recommend before you do this to have, I know before I said you could do whatever you want, but have it on 0 and 0. That way you can do things like this and preview your letters before doing the full render, because if you put preview while the frames are selected, then it'll start rendering the whole video instead of just giving you a preview of what the text looks like. Okay, so now we can do a few things. We can leave it as it is and leave it as a black background and basically make a camera panning around it or something, or you can change it up a bit. You can add a more specular feel if you add a source of light. Now, you can do either this light like that, or you can make the whole scene have a sky to it. When you add sky, it won't automatically make it nice looking. Typically, you'll get this. It looks all gray and just fungled up. You want to click on sky and select use color on. Now everything's white, and if you render this, you'll see how it looks like now. It looks pretty sick now. Looks pretty cool. All right. I cannot stress to you how important this is. If you have ambient occlusion and global illumination on while you have something like sky on, your render time will increase to the 10th, 100%. Like, no joke. You'll be sitting here rendering for the rest of your life if you select that. Now, I want to leave the text like that. In further tutorials, I'll probably show you guys how to do how to move the text and so on, and make nice little animations with it. But for now, I'm just going to leave the text as it is. We're going to move it up a bit. Okay. So now we're going to make a camera panning around it. You can also add a floor. For example, you go up here, go to floor, and then you can create a certain texture to the floor and material. So we're going to create a quick material here. We're going to make it white. We're going to add a reflection to it. Fresnel, remember, make it the color that you chose. You can add luminance to it also, which just brightens it up a lot, which I like that effect a lot. Now we're going to add it to the floor, and it'll look like this. Yes. It looks like this now. Now you can change the reflection a bit to reflect less, and the way you do that is mix strength, basically. As well as brightness. Mix strength and brightness basically changes the reflection amount. So we're going to change that a little bit. You can play around with it however you like. Now, we're going to leave everything as it is now, and we're going to add a camera. So camera. Now it's very important. If you select the camera and you start moving around, the camera will be right here, and you won't be in first person point of view with it. So you want to go up here, click on camera, and select this, and now you'll be in first person point of view. Hold on. Sorry. All right. So at this point, you wanna. This is when we start messing with the frames. So we want to make it. If you want to make it a bit longer, you can. And the way you do that is you go down here, where the frames end, and you go 500 or whatever. I'm gonna leave it on 90 simply because I don't want to make this so long. It's not a real intro. It's just showing you guys how to make an intro. So here we go. Make sure the scroller is on 0, so the video will start on 0 frames. So once you do that, once again, make sure the camera is selected, because if you select anything else, there won't be any camera movement. The camera is what does the actual panning and movements. So now we're gonna select this keyframe right here. So now we got this down here, which tells the video, this is a keyframe. Start right there. For example, if I move this, if I were to go play, it starts on the keyframe because the camera is set on that keyframe. Now, before you start doing any movements to the actual cameras, you want to get to know how to move the camera correctly. So if you hold down 1 on your keyboard and you move around with the left mouse click, you move around like this. If you hold down 3, you can do left or right. Of course, while you're holding down your left mouse button, the same. If you hold down 2 and you do the click on the left mouse button, you can scroll in or out, or you can simply do that by scrolling with your mouse. Now, if you hold down 3, this is very important because it took me a while to figure this out. You hold down 3 and you use your right mouse key, you can do this. This is very important. It took me a while to figure this out. How happy I was when I figured it out. So now we're going to start doing some stuff. So we got to move the scroller before adding the actual keyframe, because it won't work if you don't. So now we're going to move. Anywhere you like. So now we're going to add a keyframe. Once you do that movement, it's important that you add that keyframe, or else it'll just go blank and you basically didn't do anything. Now we're going to click here to start in the beginning, and we're going to play it. So you can see it does that. Now we're going to do some more. Of course, you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing here. You can if you like. Alright, add a keyframe, and this is what we got. You can make things more complicated by having the text do certain effects, and I'll show you guys how to do stuff like that in other tutorials. This is just for simple intros. Now, at this point, you want to render your intro. So you go up here to render settings. And like I said, you got to make sure. Hold on. Output, I think it was. Okay. You make sure that your range is from 0 to however long your video is. But make sure, like for example, if you have a video that starts on 0 and goes to 55, and that's the end of your animation, but your timeline continues to 90, you want to make sure you have 55 on this instead of 90, because then it'll render the whole thing in like completely nothing that you didn't want to render. Or you can do the same here, 0 to 55, not 0 to 90. But since mine actually goes to 90, I'm gonna have 0 to 90. There we go. And that's basically set if you did everything I told you to do in the beginning of the video. Now, like I said, you can select ambient occlusion, but it increases the render time substantially. So we're gonna show you a little preview of how long that would take. Yes. It adds more realistic shadowing and lighting, but as you can see, it takes a lot longer. And this is just one frame. This is that one picture. This is recommended like 100% if you are making just a simple wallpaper or picture, one picture. But for a full video, to do this frame by frame, it's going to take a long time. As you can see here. So now you can see it actually starts showing up, and you can already tell it looks pretty decent. It looks very nice with ambient occlusion and um, global illumination. But that takes too long, so we're gonna take that off. Like I said, it takes a very long time, and that's every single frame you're doing. So imagine doing that same timing for 90 frames or more. Because once you get into longer intros, doing very cool intros, you'll get more likely longer than 90 frames, because 90 frames even for intro is very short. So now we're going to do the rendering. So the way you do that is, once again, you select this to the end of your animation, to the end of what you want it to be. In my case, it's 90. So there we go. We click out of that, and then once you do that, you basically just click here, render, and yes, we want to remove that. Now as you can see down here, there's a difference. It actually starts rendering it every single frame and all the way to 90, as you can see. And once it's done with one frame, it goes on to the other, and then so on until it's done. We're gonna cancel this. So yeah, that's basic intro tutorial, and more advanced ones to come. Thanks for watching.